السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. With my good brother Yusuf, aka Christopher, revert Islam. Inshallah, he's going to tell us about his life and the stuff, the struggles he went through. Assalamu alaikum, akhi, how are you doing?
Wa alaikum salam.
Good to have you on here today.
It's good to be on.
Barakallah feek. So inshallah, I'm going to ask you about how you reverted Islam.
Sounds
and
good.
tell us about, before we ask the question, inshallah, tell us how you started and how you became Muslim.
So, 26 years old, 27 actually. I just turned 27 last month. When I was about 20 years old, I was living the typical like American lifestyle. I was Christian at the time. I was raised Christian. Kind of just lost, partying. Didn't really have a purpose in life. Didn't really know no direction. And I joined the army, and because I didn't know what else to do. School wasn't for me. And you see how Muslims are portrayed in the media, especially after like 9/11. I thought, if I couldn't go to school, then I'd do something good with my life. And I figured, why not, go to be a soldier. And through the media, through movies, and through all this stuff, you're told that America's the best country in the world. And when you're young, you don't know any better, and you believe it, And I thought the Muslims are the bad guys, and I truly wanted to fight the bad guys and be the hero. And subhanAllah, I went to the military with the idea of killing Muslims, killing the bad guys. And, subhanAllah, after a while, I started reading the Bible more. I started contemplating life, the purpose of life. Because if I was going to be going into battle and willing to give my life or take other lives, it made me think about the value of life and the purpose of life. And that really hit me. And I started getting deeper and deeper into the Bible, and I started questioning some things. Being raised Catholic, I had a belief in God, but the Trinity was something that never made sense to me, and it was one of the reasons why I rejected Christianity for a while. But I always believed in God, and after joining the army again, it reaffirmed my belief in a God, and I like the stories of the prophets, but there were some things that didn't sit well with me, historically, and then after I got out of the army, I started my search for the truth, because I knew that there was a purpose for life. I knew that that God created us, but I didn't know where the truth was, and I didn't think it lied with Christianity. So I looked into Hinduism, I looked into Buddhism, Judaism, I looked into all the isms, and there was things in those religions that I liked, but there was also things that didn't make sense. And I thought, and I believed that if a religion was true, everything in it had to be true, not just some things. I couldn't accept one thing wrong. And that's something that took me a while to understand, is that people see Muslims doing bad things, and they say, why did I become a Muslim when people do things like that? But something that I realized, and it's hard for other people to realize, is that you judge a religion based off on its religious scriptures, not off the actions of its adherents. So one thing I say is, Islam's perfect, but Muslims are not. And that's one of the most beautiful things I found about Islam, is that none of us are perfect, but we're all on our own journey trying to, better ourselves every day, and it's a beautiful struggle.
Jazakallah khair. Also, you mentioned that you wanted to kill Muslims. Was that your mindset when you're in the army, or was it
just going into the army, I thought that all Muslims were evil. I thought that Muslims as a religion was responsible for 9/11. I thought that they all agreed with Osama bin Laden. They were all extremists, that this was part of the religion to exterminate us. And just being young and you don't know much about the world or about history, and you just take what you're being fed without thinking critically. And looking into history and looking more into both these religions, and reading the Quran. SubhanAllah, I read the Quran for an entire year before I decided to become Muslim. And one day, a Christian lady at my work, she said, you know, you talk about a lot about Islam. I think you're a Muslim. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I think I am, because I believed at that point. I believed that everything in Islam was true, and that there was no mistakes, and that I couldn't judge religion based off actions of some people, but upon what I had read in the Quran.
When you came to Islam, when you reverted to Islam, I'm guessing you went through struggles. What were the struggles that you went through?
Of course, man. Of course. Just at the time, I was living with a girlfriend outside my family's house. You know, I did all the things that you know, a normal 20-year-old does. You know, going to the clubs and music and all this stuff, and you know, that was my life, because I was so empty inside. I was trying to fill my you know, that spot, and trying to find like some peace with drinking or smoking or whatever it may be. But you know, it never made me feel better, and if it did, only momentarily, and ultimately it just made me feel worse in the end. So just completely changing that sort of lifestyle, switching from you know, going 100 miles per hour one way to going full stop and going the other way, was something that it was definitely difficult for me. But you know, I made the proper steps. You know, I left the girl that I was with. I moved back to my family's house. I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I started treating my parents more respectfully. You know, and they saw these changes in me. And at first, you know, my family, you know, being Muslims, they also, I mean, being Christians, they also had this like mindset of like, you know, Muslims are evil, and they were worried for me when I first became a Muslim. But it was seeing that the changes, the positive changes that I made in my life, and attributing these changes to like, you know, to being a Muslim, they were happy, and it changed their opinion of Muslims, of Islam.
Also, I remember you telling me you used to be a conspiracy theorist. Tell us about.
You know, subhanAllah, that's one of the things that led me to Islam is, you know, after getting out of the military, you know, I think everyone goes through a period when they first hear about the Illuminati or the Freemasons, and they look into this, and you know, was 9/11 true? Is fluoride poisoning us? And you know, does the Illuminati control the world? And you know, just watching some of these videos and getting really depressed, man. Going into like a dark place, thinking like the man's gonna get you, you know. And subhanAllah, one day I came across a video. It was along the lines of these conspiracy theories, but it tied in Islam. It tied in those conspiracy theories and related to them like as a, you know, the way of shaitan, and how the devil tries to trick us. And it showed that for the first time I saw like a response in a response that wasn't just doom and gloom. It said that like, you know, Islam is the light. Islam is the opposite side of all this. And you know, I had learned about Islam in school and in the army a little, but I never. I mean, even after looking at all these religions, subhanAllah, I never considered Islam. I never even looked at it. So it was the last thing that I came across. And you know, seeing these conspiracy theories and then tie it into Islam, it made me think again, like, you know, really, what is Islam? What do I know about Islam? So that's when I went to the library, and I got a copy of Imam Nawawi 40 Hadith and a copy of the Quran, and then I took off on my journey from there, just reading it every day for almost an entire year, just, you know, without any connection to any. I didn't speak to any Muslims. It was just me and my friend, and we went to the library and we chatted, and we watched some YouTube videos online. MashaAllah, they had a good positive effect on us, and really showed us, you know, that there was hope, and that there was the truth out there. And you know, I always made the prayer, the dua, that, you know, I know that the truth's out there, and like, I know that you're real, like, you know, oh God, and like, just show me the truth, show me the right way, show me the sign, show me the straight path, and I promise you, I will follow it. And ultimately, you know, my dua, my prayer was answered, and Allah led me to Islam, alhamdulillah.
When you started, like, when you became Muslim, how did your family react to you becoming Muslim?
You know, in the beginning, it was definitely met with a lot of opposition. But over time, you know, seeing how I changed, how my character changed, how I became the good person that they always knew I was, but you know, I cut some of the things out of my life that were that had me down, kind of. You know what I mean? You know, they see me, they saw me treating them better, and they're saying, you know, why is this? And I say, oh, well, you know, the Quran says this about the parents, and there's a hadith that says this, and they're like, this is from your like religion, and they're like, of course, this is like, you know, this is a big part of our religion, is, you know, treating you with love and respect, and you know, not talking back, and it's important because, you know, Americans, there's something that they've forgotten for the most part, is, you know, respecting their elders and respecting their parents, and it's kind of this mentality of, I can do whatever I want whenever I want, and you can't tell me what to do, and I've definitely fell victim to that, you know, being a young kid, kind of like a you know, a troublemaker, you know what I mean? So alhamdulillah, when they saw me change almost 180 degrees, they wanted to know, like, you know, why and how, and I explained to them that it was because of Islam, and you know, that's not to say that, you know, I took my shahada and like that I became a new person. It was definitely a long period of, like, you know, going through changes, and alhamdulillah, eventually, you know, it evened out, and alhamdulillah.
I remember I asked you so many times to do this video. What made you change your mind to actually really want to do it? That motivated you mostly?
Yeah, subhanAllah, you know, I'm a little shy. I'm not a fan of being in front of the camera. By any means, I like to stay behind the scenes. But, you know, I thought about going through a time right before I became Muslim, you know, and I saw a lot of convert videos online, especially from Abu Bakr Islam, and, you know, that was one of those things that really got to me, the roadside to Islam. That was something that I could relate with. I could really relate with that, and you know, hearing some of those convert stories, man, they felt identical to my own, and I thought that, you know, I shouldn't hide behind my fears, and that I should stand up and you know, do these questions in this video with you, and that if one person, you know, even if one person can benefit from this, like I benefited from his videos, inshallah, it'll be worth it.
You're currently studying at Imam Muhammad Saud in Riyadh. What made you want to study Islam, number one, and what is your experience here in the university?
Yeah, that's a great question. As soon as I became Muslim, I became like a sponge, man. I absorbed everything. I was listening to, you know, because I cut off the old friends, the old way of life. I was just reading, listening to lectures, everything I could, just studying the religion, man. And it was such a beautiful thing. And then, you know, Ramadan came, and I'm in Taraweeh, and you know, they're reading the Quran, and I'm praying, and then I find my mind is somewhere else. And I sat down and I realized, you know, how this is a tragedy. This is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm thinking about something else. You know, people around me are crying. When I read the Quran in English, subhanAllah, it brings tears to my eyes, and that's just a translation. And I know the weight of these words, and if I could understand them, then it would bring me closer to Allah, and it would deepen my relationship with Him. And because, you know, ultimately, like, there's nothing like reading the Quran in Arabic, the Quran, and understanding it. You know, the English can only bring you so far, and from then on, you know, it really became a goal of mine, because, you know, there's a lot of youngsters who, you know, they're second generation, third generation Muslim. They're Hafid, or they know Quran, they have some memorized, but they don't know what, you know, Surah Al-Fatiha means, and this is really a tragedy. Because you see a lot of these kids eventually leaving Islam, if they don't know the weight of what they're saying, and they can't make that personal connection, then what's keeping them there, you know? So that became something really important to me. And so the last 4 years, coming up in a couple months, will be 4 years here in Saudi. It's been some of the best years of my life, subhanAllah, you know. SubhanAllah, I just graduated last semester from the Arabic Institute. You know, coming here 4 years ago, I did not know Alif Ba Ta. Assalamu alaikum was the only thing that I knew. I knew my prayers because, you know, that was something that was important to me. But beyond that, I didn't speak a lick, and it was very difficult in the beginning. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. But, you know, with consistency and persistency and patience, you know, Allah made it easy for me, and I can now read and write and speak. I'm not a master of the language by any means. I've only just started my journey, but alhamdulillah, I feel like I have the keys and the tools now to continue my studies.
This is the last question, inshallah. If you could give one advice to the Muslims, especially reverts, what advice would you give them?
That is a loaded question, and there's so many things and so many advices that I've learned of my 6 years of being Muslim. But man, one thing I would say is take your time. Take your time, go slow. You know, only do what you're able to do, because you don't want to go so hard and so fast and then burn out. And I've seen a lot of people burn out and eventually leave Islam. And just take your time and keep your heart connected with the Quran. You know, for a long time, I became concerned in debates and different opinions, and I left the Quran and I focused on these things, and eventually I found that my iman had just plummeted, and returning back to the Quran and matters of the heart, and my relationship with Allah has really brought that back together. So don't worry too much about what people say. You know what you're able to do and what you can't do, and just do as much as you can. Do as much as you're able to, inshallah, and take it slowly, step by step. You want to build a solid foundation, because if you just go so fast, eventually, man, you're gonna topple over, and it could be a disaster. Ultimately, and Allah, ask Allah to protect us from that.
Jazakallah khair, akhi. Rafa'af, inshallah. May Allah bless you. May Allah grant you success in both roles. Barakallah fi, jazakallah khair. We benefit from your story. I wish you all the best, inshallah.
Thank you very much. I had a great time.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.